Welcome to Tibet This Week, where we bring you a weekly news edition on His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tibet and the Central Tibetan Administration. These are the headlines. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration congratulate Nitish Kumar on his coalition's success in the State Assembly election. Sikyong concludes Tibet awareness tour in North and Northeast India. Central Tibetan Administration mourns the passing of French Senator Jean-François Humbert. Central Tibetan Administration's leadership engaged with foreign delegation. Prague Declaration reaffirms Tibetan people's right to choose the next Dalai Lama following Sikyong's appeal. Office of Tibet London speaks to political students of University of Westminster on Tibet. Parliamentarian Tenzin Doring attends Asia Pacific Security Innovation Forum in New Zealand. Additional Secretary Dhondup Gyalpo appointed as the representative of Office of Tibet, South Africa. His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Central Tibetan Administration's leadership has written to Bihar's Chief Minister Nitish Kumar on his coalition's recent victory in the State Assembly election. His Holiness in his letter thanked Nitish Kumar on the hospitality he has extended on His Holiness's visits to Bihar and his continued support on His Holiness's efforts in reviving ancient Indian knowledge. Speaker 𝒃𝒆𝒕 𝑻𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 in his congratulatory letter highlighted the trust the electorate has placed on his vision for Bihar and wished him success in years to come. Sikyong 𝒃𝒆𝒃 of the Central Tibetan Administration has concluded his visits to schools and universities in North and Northeast India to speak on Tibet. In the past week, Sikyong visited SR Group of Institutions, Warriors Defence Academy, Lucknow University, Business School of the Institute of Management and Research Technology in Lucknow, and Royal Global University in Guwahati, Assam. In his address at all these gatherings, Sikyong highlighted the need to understand Tibet while studying India's national security, the historical independent status of Tibet, China's attempt at eradicating Tibet's culture, history, identity and language since the invasion of Tibet in 1950. Sikyong also emphasized the strong ancient historical ties between India and Tibet's global importance from its geographical and environmental standpoint, and reminded the young minds of China's aggressive expansionist policies.
I went up to Doring, where the 𝑻𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 enters Arunachal Pradesh. Now China is building a mega dam, mega dam, which will produce 2.8 times the hydroelectricity than the Three Gorges Dam. China is investing about $260 billion to build this mega dam just north of Arunachal Pradesh. And if something happens to that size of a dam, then what will happen to people downstream? So control on information is very, very strict, and China uses all kinds of artificial intelligence, whether it's to do with DNA. They are collecting DNA of every single Tibetan. So today, if I'm in Tibet and if I think about self-immolating myself, I have to think 100 times, because through DNA testing, they can track all my relatives. And then all my relatives become the first line of suspicion. China is the biggest bully in this world. You know, in international politics, I'm not joking. You don't need to believe whatever I say today, but you have to read more to verify whether what I'm saying is true or not, right? And there's no religious freedom at all. You know, children today in schools cannot go to monasteries. If you are a member of Communist Party, you cannot visit a monastery. Children below the age of 18 cannot become monks. If you want to become a monk, you need at least 4 guarantors to make sure, to guarantee that this person will not commit any political crime in the monastery. So that is the level of control. If the monks and nuns have to go out of their territory, they need at least 4 or 5 different permits. The curriculum of the Buddhist studies are being set up by a communist government that does not believe in any religion. Management of the monasteries and nunneries have been taken over by multiple security agencies. There are multiple security agencies in China and in Tibet. So now they want to be responsible for recognizing reincarnated lamas.
Sikyong also met and interacted with several Indian politicians, heads and members of the Tibet support groups, and media personnel, including the Press Trust of India, Pratidin Time, and Hindustan Samachar. Central Tibetan Administration mourns the passing away of French Senator Jean-François Humbert. In separate letters addressed to Senator Humbert's family, Speaker 𝒃𝒆𝒕 𝑻𝒊𝒃𝒆�្� and Sikyong 𝒃𝒆𝒄 on behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration and Tibetans worldwide remembered Senator Humbert as a true friend and genuine ally of Tibet. His support for Tibet has spanned decades, ensuring Tibet's voice was heard on global stage. Speaker noted that his departure is a profound loss to all who believed in truth, non-violence and human dignity. In separate meetings, Speaker 𝒃𝒆𝒕 𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒄 and Deputy Speaker 𝒊𝒂𝒃 𝒂𝒂 of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile and Kalyan Nonzudoma of the Department of Information and International Relations, Central Tibetan Administration, welcomed a team from Estonian delegation led by Estonian Member of Parliament Juku Kallaraid and Chair of Tibet Support Group in the Estonian Parliament. During the interaction, CTA's leadership emphasized on the shared history of struggle and aspiration for freedom experienced by both the people, gratitude for Estonia's steadfast support for the Tibetan cause, and CTA's major initiatives guided by middle way approach. Speaker 𝒃𝒆𝒕 𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒄 and Deputy Speaker 𝒊𝒂𝒃 𝒂𝒂 of the Tibetan Parliament in Exile also met with Member of Indian Parliament 𝒊𝒂𝒃 last Friday at the Parliament. Speaker thanked 𝒊𝒃 for referring to the border region as the Indo-Tibet border rather than the Indo-China border during the Parliament session. Following an appeal made earlier this month at the 5th Anniversary Conference of the International Religious Freedom or Belief Alliance by Sikyong 𝒃𝒆𝒄 of the Central Tibetan Administration, the Prague Declaration on Freedom of Religious Belief 2025 reaffirms the Tibetan Buddhist community's right to select the successor of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama without state interference. At the conference, Sikyong presented a letter from His Holiness Dalai Lama to Ambassador Robert Rihag and chair of the organization. In his address, Sikyong highlighted the urgent need for international support to protect Tibetan religious freedom, warning of China's intensifying efforts to control the recognition of the 15th Dalai Lama. Representative Tilei Chugyi of the Office of Tibet, Geneva, welcomed the Prague Declaration by Ambassador Robert Rihag and noted that this declaration is a pivotal backing for fundamental human rights. The Office of Tibet London interacted with a group of Masters in Diplomacy and Global Politics and Masters in International Relations students from University of Westminster. Representative Tsiring Yangki and Secretary Tenzin gave presentation on His Holiness Dalai Lama's global legacy, evolution and the current governing system of the Central Tibetan Administration. An hour-long question and answer session followed the presentation. Member of Tibetan Parliament in Exile Tenzin Doring spoke on the topic Economic Diplomacy versus Strategic Presence at the Asia-Pacific Security Innovation Forum held in Wellington, New Zealand. MP Phuntsok spoke on the Tibetan cause and provided an overview of the structure and the functions of the Central Tibetan Administration. On Wednesday this week, Kasha appointed Additional Secretary Dhondup Gyalpo as the representative of the Office of Tibet in Pretoria, South Africa. Dhondup Gyalpo currently serves as the Secretary at the Bureau of His Holiness Dalai Lama in Delhi. That is all for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. See you in the next one.